here, um, you don't ever see someone say that they're a doctor or lawyer, and then someone goes, "Oh my gosh, that sucks," right? And so that was the blueprint of success in my mind when I was obviously growing up. And so that was that. And then obviously my mom, she wanted me to become an attorney as well. And so, that was my reasons for going down that path. And so I decided I'm gonna go ahead and, take a leap of faith and see where things take me. And so I decided to, pack my stuff and move across the country with Brennan to Miami, Florida. And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life, for a few reasons, and I'll outline those. I think in the first year, we were able to build Brennan's business to number one on the campaign at the time. And it was pretty cool and interesting to see. But it was really cool because I was able to see the finances he was able to make in that time period. I think the first about 6 months he saved about over $100,000. And I was like, this knucklehead, like I've dunked on him in the field, right? And so I think that gave me more insight on what the financial upside was for this business. And so I decided to fully commit myself to it and get down to business. And so I think a year after that, I ended up getting promoted to ownership. I got promoted on a New York campaign at the time. It was Comcast Xfinity. It was interesting. My first 3 months, I cried because it was a difficult campaign at the time. But I ended up figuring things out, and we took off. And in my first year, I saved about $250,000 in my bank account, which was cool. I obviously was number one on that campaign. And then COVID ended up hitting. My office went down from a 30 head count to 4 people after COVID, which was interesting. And so it was a test. At least for me, that's the way I look at it. It was a test to see, okay, like, do you actually have it, right? Because I think that sometimes when we get punched, right, or we face adversity, the easy thing to do is to kind of, either abort the mission, right? Or to kind of just dwell in it. And so it was a great opportunity for me because it was able to showcase that, oh, I can do this thing again. And so, anyways, we ended up parting ways with Comcast Xfinity as a whole, as a campaign. And I ended up jumping onto the campaign that we are on now, which is AT&T EDM. Jumped on that campaign in the first 6 months. I became number one on the campaign, which was cool, especially since there was so much competition on this campaign. I held the number one spot in all of 2020. I did 2021 at the end of the year, 2022 the full year, and then the beginning of 2023 as well. Then obviously I promoted a deal, which was pretty cool, and now my office, we're currently at around 30 head count, cranking, getting $50,000 wires, all that good stuff. About to promote out some more people. And so I believe I was the number two office in all of Sitcore in 2022, which was pretty cool to accomplish. But yeah, that's kind of my story. It's just so you guys can get a good understanding of, like, like I said, who I am and the things that I've been able to accomplish. And so now I know that this group of individuals, you guys are a little bit more seasoned in regards to being able to get into the training game. You guys have been able to develop people. That's all accurate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
cool. So I want to be able to, add some level of value in that aspect of things because I'm assuming that if you guys are in this meeting, that you guys all, I would hope, know how to sell. So so I don't really want to talk about sales too much. Granted, I will talk about maybe habits that might impact your sales, but more importantly, right, we're at the end of 2025, right? And we're about to be entering 2026, which I believe is going to be one of the biggest years of our industry. But it's only going to be a big year if you set yourself up for it, right? Because circumstances can get better, but if you're not getting better, unfortunately, you'll get bitter, right? And so in 2026, I've already kind of laid out my goals on what I want to accomplish, and I do this every single year. Your goals don't start, in 2026, in my opinion. Your goals start now, right? And so, you guys have about, a good 3 weeks to kind of start. doing the things that you should be doing in the beginning of 2026 to set your year up for 2026. And so I kind of want to highlight those things really quickly, really briefly, and then maybe I can talk about some things that can help you guys in building your teams and give you guys some tips and tactical things. And of course, if we have any questions, then you guys obviously can ask any questions. And by the way, I know I kind of went over my story a little bit. Did you guys have any questions about that or any clarifying, you need me to clarify anything? No? Cool.
No, it's clear.
Cool. So ideally, whenever I am creating my goals on how I want to set it up, the number one thing that you're going to do, and it's going to be very simple things, right? You want to write out your goals, right? And when I say write out your goals, I mean write out your goals, scribe your goals. There is power in scribing the things that you want, right? I know that we're in an era of digital, like a digital era, and it's very, very easy to just, type things up and whatnot. I would highly, highly encourage you to write down the things you want to accomplish. Before you write down the things that you want to accomplish, take an assessment of what do you accomplish in 2025. If that happens to be nothing, which I highly doubt it would be nothing, then then figure out why it's nothing. Keep looking, right? But I would take an assessment to figure out, okay, what were the things that I did well at, right? What were the things that I might have had some pitfalls, right? Or things I could have improved on, right? And then obviously get to the part where, okay, what are the things that I want to have in the upcoming year? It's really important that you get honest with yourself instead of just saying, okay, this is what I'm going to go with, right? You want to take that quick assessment because it's hard to navigate yourself to get from here to here. But if you are thinking that you're in a completely different playing field, right? And you're trying to navigate yourself to, a completely different area, then it's difficult to get there, right? And so get honest with where you are currently. Oh, I don't have money. I don't have money. Okay, so yeah, number one, obviously write out your goals, right? Number two is you want to have a word or phrase to keep you checked in and locked in. That way it doesn't, because there's gonna be times like, do you guys think that in 2026 you guys are gonna have obstacles or things that are gonna throw you off your game?
All the time.
Right?
Yeah,
You
for
you are,
sure.
right? It's happened every single year for you, right? And so be aware that there are going to be things that are going to, throw you off your game, throw you off your focus. And so what is that word that's going to keep you grounded, that's going to keep you focused, that's going to get you back locked in, right? Or phrase. So a word or a phrase, figure out what that is for yourself. That way you can continuously shoot for your goals, right? And then last but not least, in regards to just like how you can just get ready for 2026 would be ownership. I like that. I like that. But ownership shouldn't just be the goal, right? You want to be a kick-ass owner, all right? One of the best, one of the best. But last but not least, what I would also do is you need somebody who's going to hold you accountable. I'm a huge believer in that, right? And it doesn't have to be somebody in this business per se. Ideally, it should be because the people in this business understand the business, right? But you want to make sure you have a positive and negative feedback loop consistently. And so when you're preparing for 2026, I would already get, used to those actions. And so if it's with Hey Sean on a weekly basis or daily basis, then I would highly encourage you doing that, right? If it's other people, other owners that are in our industry, then I would highly encourage you doing that as well. But this is what's going to keep you locked in for 2026, right? And so I keep mentioning like being locked in. And why do you guys think I keep mentioning being locked in?
Because it's easy to like get off of like the trail basically, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you hear it all the time, right? People make these big goals, and the new year they talk about new year, new me, all that good stuff, right? And then in the first month of January, they're super excited, they're super motivated, right? And they say, I want a new body, right? The gym that they go to is freaking packed because everybody's there, right? And then all of a sudden, right, you get to the second month in February, and then you don't see as many people around, right? And then month three comes around, then you see even lesser people, right? Then month four comes around, and then you don't see anybody because you stopped even doing it, right? And so, like, I mentioned this whole thing of being locked in because that's the key to success. The key to success is your ability to focus, right? And so every single person on this call right now, you have somebody on your team or you've developed another person, right? Or you are looked at as a leader, right? And so when it comes to your goals in 2023, yes, you should absolutely like you heard of the term work harder, work smarter, all that good stuff. Absolutely, you should work harder all day, right? But we also want to work smarter as well, right? And the way that you work smarter is these two ways. One, you increase attention. Number two, you decrease distraction. You increase attention, you decrease distraction. And that's for yourself and for the people you are leading and developing, right? And so there's three types of people that are currently on this call right now, right? There's the individuals that are simply just being forced to be on this call. Right. Hey, Sean said, get on this fucking call. And you're all like, all right, I don't know what the fuck it's gonna be. All right, should, this lens eye guy, cool. All right. I heard that he probably does somewhat well, right? But hey, Sean sometimes kicks his ass every now and again, so it is what it is. But nonetheless, you're being forced, right? And that's okay. That's totally fine. Then there's another group of people that they want development, but not growth. They want development, right? They like the feeling of people saying that cool shit and saying I'm gonna take over the fucking world and that I can get all this awesome things like a nice ass car or a fucking awesome house. Like they like all that stuff, right? They like the feeling of, of someone saying a one-liner or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, that sounds so cool, like, right? And they like the development aspect, but they don't really want the growth, right? And then last but not least, there's individuals that are jumping on this call today that want the growth, right? They want the uncomfortability. They want the grit that it's going to take, right? They want the change that's going to happen, right? They want the wisdom, right? Of becoming a great leader. And so I'm gonna cover a few things with you guys that I covered recently with my guys. Like whenever you're building a team, you are generally trying to figure out who's engaged and who's disengaged, right? Those are the two things I'm managing as a leader. Who's engaged and who's disengaged. And so these are like some tactical things I think that will really help you guys with the people on your teams and maybe even for yourself, right? And so if you guys have any questions, let's just save them for the end. But these are four types of, if you're looking to, title this, four types of people on your team. All right, the first type of person is actively engaged. Somebody want to take a stab on what they believe actively engaged means?
They're always asking questions. They want to know what's next. They're really interested in the business and the aspects, and they want to find out as much as they can.
Boom, Ahmed. This is why you're a stud. Right? This person's enthusiastic, right? They are passionate. They're committed to the mission, right? They don't just do the job, right? They go above and beyond. And they are really taking ownership for things, right? They are actively engaged. And these people, I can always tell who's actively engaged. Do you know how you can tell?
Their energy.
By how they carry themselves.
Asking questions.
Yeah, all those things for sure. But I'm a huge believer. is if I look at someone's eyes, I can tell whether they're actively engaged or not. I can tell. And this might be like just how I operate, and I'm hyper analytical. But like if somebody's like, super like, let's say for instance they're drunk or whatever, right? Can you tell in their eyes that they're drunk?
Yeah.
100%. You can look at their eyes and be like, "Oh, you're not there. You're not there," right? And so when I look at somebody's eyes, I can tell where their head is at. I can tell how present they are, right? And so that's all you got to do is look at your people's eyes. See how actively engaged they are. The second one is someone who's engaged. So, like I mentioned, four types of people on your team. You have actively engaged, you have secondly engaged. And I'm gonna run through the next three, and I'll go into like the details of the content with you guys. Number three is disengaged, and number four is actively disengaged. So you have number one, which is actively engaged. Number two is engaged. Number three is disengaged. And number four is actively disengaged. Cool. So we already covered actively engaged. What do we think engaged is?
Um, Engaged means that if they're told to, in a sense, they need a little push to get engaged. Instead of them naturally wanting it, they need like direction constantly from, leadership or higher powers to
Yep.
get them to be engaged with the message.
Yep.
You just go with the flow, pretty much.
Yep. 100%. Here's a definition, and then pretty much Matt already said it, right? But people who show up, do their work well, generally have a positive attitude, they're committed, but they're not always pushing beyond expectations. So this is the person who they might be, let's say for instance, they're hitting numbers, right? So they're doing well there, but they're not rallying the troops, right? They're not holding their peers accountable, right? And so do we look at this person as a positive or a negative?
I mean,
At first, it's like a positive. I mean, if they're engaged, it's a positive
Yeah.
because anyone who's having engagement in like the office, and they're being positive, bringing positive energy. Obviously, it's a positive. But yeah,
Yeah. So I would say that this person is a positive impact on the team, right? Now, are they the person who's probably I'm gonna promote out? Probably not.
yeah.
Right? But they can have a seat on the bus, right? They can be on the bus for sure. Right. Now let's get into the negative side of things. I love getting into negatives, right? Disengaged. What do you think disengaged is?
Disengaged, they're just not present. Like, they're not presently in there. They're not fully committed. They're in and out all the time, or not on time sometimes, all that.
Preston, you're hitting it right on the head, right? These are people who are physically present, but they're mentally checked out, right? And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, which is how do I figure that out?
their
But
eye.
I see people like their eyes. Yeah.
Look at them in the eyes, right? And I do this in my office, and I don't know if you guys want to, take this, but I do not allow people to not look me in my eyes. Like, I don't know if you guys still do bells, but sometimes it's so funny. Like, people will do bells and they'll like try to not look at me, and I would just grab them like, look at me, like I want to fucking see you, right? Or when they come to say hi to me and they're like, "Hey, what's up, Lindsay?" And I'm like, "Look at me, okay, like, hi." Right? Because it tells me everything I need to know. It tells me everything. All the secrets are here in the eyes. All the secrets are here in the eyes, right? Cool. So we understand what disengaged is, right? Preston hit it on the head, right? They do the minimum, right? They avoid extra responsibility, right? They lack passion. Actively disengaged. What do we think this one is?
They're not
Uh,
even trying, bro.
yeah,
Really?
they're
Just
the
Don't give
actively
a shit.
avoiding it, I
They
guess.
yeah
don't
You don't
even
care.
care.
They
they're
don't
the
care.
shitters. Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
don't
care,
care
but
about nothing.
more
You don't care by
importantly,
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, they are working against the team, right? They're probably complaining, resisting change, pulling others down, right? They are the negative Nancy's, right? Unmotivated. And do we like these people in our business?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. We want them off the fucking bus as quick as possible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
As quick as possible. And so, how do we handle each engagement level, right? Because I touched on it earlier, right? The key to success when working smarter is increasing attention but decreasing distraction. And so the question is how do we handle their engagement levels, right? And so I'll run that through with you guys really quickly. So if I have somebody who's actively engaged, right? The goal is to keep them motivated. The goal is to simply keep them motivated, right? And get out their fucking way. So many times as leaders, we don't even realize it's not even that we want to, but we sometimes will dim our people's light, right? Where somebody will be on fucking fire, right? And not fire in regards to the results, but fire as like they're fucking ready to go, right? These people might be super fucking cocky and confident, and we want to humble them. No, fuck no. Life will humble them. You don't need to do it, right? You don't need to do it, right? You're their leader, right? And so it's difficult because you got to be confident within yourself in order to realize that you have a player on your team and not to dim their light. Make sense?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
ultimate objective here is just simply keeping them motivated, right? Keeping them motivated. And so what to do? Recognize them publicly. So if I have a stud on my team, right? I'm recognizing them publicly. Keep fueling the fire, praise them, right? And create opportunities for them. And so give them leadership roles potentially, not anything too crazy, right? You want to, handle that with care. And obviously, for each one of you guys, I would definitely ask, hey, Sean, don't just do it yourself. He's your guys' coach for a reason. He knows how the game is played. Um, but these individuals are culture carriers, right? You want to protect them and leverage them as best as you possibly can. Right? You want to leverage their energy, right? You want to leverage their results, all that good stuff, right? And so these are the things what you want to do with an actively engaged individual. Now, I think that this is probably like you guys are probably hearing this like, duh, obviously, like why wouldn't you do that, right? We'll get into like the other things that might not be as um, common sense, right? And so engaged, right? The goal ultimately with these individuals is to move them from good to great. So I want to turn a person who's engaged to actively engaged, right? Because a person who's engaged, guess what?
You can always improve them.
You can mold them,
You're
yeah.
self-motivated.
Well, yes, that's all correct, right? The person who's engaged, though, they're in the middle, right? And so I just said, what do I want to do?
Make
You're
them great.
Pushing, make them
leveraged.
great.
I want to make them great, and so I want to make them actively engaged, right? And so they're in the middle, and so what's below that?
Disengaged.
Or bottom.
Disengaged.
Yeah.
Boom, there it is, right? And so if I'm working with a person who's engaged, no matter what, one or the other is going to happen. If you're intentional, the engaged person will become actively engaged. If you just let it be, the engaged person will be eventually become disengaged. It's not just going to happen on its own where they become actively engaged. The percentage of them becoming disengaged with you not doing anything is much higher than them like you not doing anything and them becoming actively engaged. Make sense?
Yep.
And so what do you do with these individuals?
Place them around actively engaged people.
Boom! Come on, Preston. Place them around actively engaged people, right? Have one-on-one conversations with them. I mean, I would assume that all of you guys on this call right now is the first one, right? Which is the actively engaged person. So ideally, you should be having one-on-one conversations with them every single day, right? And so some of the questions that you could be asking them, right, is like what motivates you, right? What's maybe holding you back to get to the next level, right? Some other small things is like what's your goals? What kind of life do you want to live? right? Asking those questions just helps in regards to getting to think a little bit more and bigger, like you guys all think, right? Because I'm assuming if you're on this call right now, you guys are probably pretty committed to getting to big goals like to ownership and to make a shit ton of money and to make, millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's pretty like that's not even a. I remember back in the day becoming an owner, right? It's like, okay, if you're a really, really, really good owner, then you could probably, make $1 million, right? Um, but nowadays it's stupid. We have reps. I just was on the phone with one of the reps, and I was looking at his pay stub for the year, and he's made $180,000 as a rep,
Crazy.
right? Which is funny because you think about it from where the owner is, right? That owner, I think, in a day had $100,000 wire. Pretty
Wow.
I
stupid.
see.
Pretty
Did you
fucking.
say in a day?
Oh yeah, in a day.
Ruby? What?
No, 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 Mateo.
Damn.
Yeah. Pretty fucking impressive, right? And so I remember when I became a millionaire at the age of 28, right? I thought I was freaking hot shit, but these days you guys have a ridiculous like opportunity, right? We're having new owners come out the gate and, becoming a millionaire in a year. I'm like, that was like unheard of back in my day. Absolutely unheard of, right? We got several examples of that. We got Roman, we got freaking Abdallah, right? Who's newer as well in the game. And so ideally, you guys are all actively engaged because you guys understand the opportunity that you're sitting on, right? But how many of your people understand that, right? And understanding it isn't necessarily just telling them like, okay, this is how much money you can make, but really pulling back the layers and asking them, what kind of life do you want to live? What kind of life do you want to live? What neighborhood do you want to live in? What kind of house do you want to live in? What choices do you want to make? When you have a family one day, like, how do you want to live that out? Right? I'm so blessed that I fell into this business the time that I did to create the life that I have, right? I have my daughter, she just turned one a couple weeks ago, or no, last week. Yeah. And it was awesome because I was able to take out her first 4 months of life, right? I wasn't in the office, I didn't work at all, and I was just with her and my wife while making hundreds of thousands of dollars not working in 4 months, right? What kind of life do you want to live? Right. And so, like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure you guys all understand that, but your people probably do not. And so you got to do the work in pulling back those layers, especially when you're working with the engaged individuals, right? How much more time do I have, by the way?
You have the full day, bro. 24 hours. Keep going.
You don't want to give me the full day, like I can go on tangents, and you guys are gonna see that periodically. Like I'll talk about one topic, and then just my brain goes a whole nother direction. It's just I don't know. It might be a sales thing. All right, number
No,
three.
but this shit is fire. Keep going. I'm
Cool.
activated. I want to go to the field now.
Number three, right? We talked about disengage, right? The goal for a disengaged person is to reconnect them with purpose and rebuild motivation because the person who's disengaged probably has just been getting their ass kicked, right? They're not having fun. They've just been getting like they've been getting bitch slapped left and right, right? And they don't like it. Right? Nobody likes getting bitch slapped. So, what you need to do is you got to rebuild that motivation, get some confidence within them, right? And then more importantly, reconnect them with their purpose, right? And remember this, many disengaged people aren't bad fit, right? I think that sometimes that's what we think. We think that like disengaged people they're just a bad fit. Like it's easy to just cast them off and like, okay, you're not fucking working out, right? That's the easy thing to do. Most likely, they probably just feel unseen, unclear, or undervalued, right? They most likely just feel unseen, They're probably unclear whether that's about their opportunity or about unclear about the sales process, right? About the systems, or they just simply feel undervalued, right? People will always live up to the value that they see themselves as. They will always live up to the value that they see themselves as. And so your job as their leader is to look at them as high value or low value.
High value.
High value. I always have high standards for my people, right? And not necessarily for their results or anything like that per se, but for who they are and how they should show up, right? And the person that they want to be, right? And so when I'm dealing with a disengaged individual, right, I have to understand that concept that they probably just feel unseen, unclear, or undervalued. Now, last but not least, the actively disengaged person, right? What is the goal here with this person?
Get them out of here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, right? It's just to stop the negativity, right? Because most likely, if a person who's actively disengaged, right, they're probably affecting other people. And so, what I want to do is I want to stop the negativity from poisoning the team, right? Whenever you have an actively disengaged person, other people are definitely getting affected by it, right? It's kind of like secondhand smoke. They might not be smoking, but they're getting all fucked up from it, right?
Fucking right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
They
so
gotta go.
and so
Okay.
what do you do with these people? Because these people are like a little tricky, right? It's like, what the fuck do I do with this person, right? It's easy to say just get rid of them, right? But how do you do this, right? One, you confront their behavior directly, in my opinion, but I would do it privately, right? I would do it privately and then be specific about what you see and how it's impacting the team, right? Because you want to be mindful. Like, we're in a day and age where, we're in a digital age, right? When people feel like they're wrong, they want to come back at you, right? And you guys don't want to have to deal with that bullshit at all, right?
Right.
You're trying to build your teams, right? And you don't want other people just having negative energy towards you guys or the people saying negative things about you guys, right? And so dealing with these people is really important on how you're balancing that. And so I would confront them directly, right? And privately. And then more importantly, I would set clear expectations and timelines for improvement. Because I would like to get this person like up and running, right? Having people on your team is a good thing. We spend a lot of money in getting people in the door, right? A lot of money. And so we don't want to just burn those resources. Like if I can get this person like to engaged, right? That's the goal, right? I want to get them to engage and cool. Set clear expectations, right, on what it is that, they are not doing and then what they need to do moving forward and have a timeline with it. Not a long ass timeline. I'm not talking about like a fucking month, right? No. I need this shit to change, within a week. Some people it might be 3 days. Shit, some people it's today, right? I had a person that says, "This is what I need you to do today. If you cannot do this, unfortunately, we just can't work with each other. I just need you to like talk to this amount of people, right? And maintain a good attitude, right? You can't say a negative thing in the field. I'm gonna be partnered with this person. They're gonna let me know if you said one negative thing. Cool. And guess what? That person ended up turning into a senior leader for me. Right? And so there is hope for people. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody like that is going to happen because like the chances of that happening are very, very slim. It's most likely they're going to fuck up and then you got to get rid of them. But I do want to make sure I'm doing this strategically, right? We're working smarter as well, right? And so those are kind of like the four people you guys have on your team and kind of how you're navigating individuals when it comes to increasing their attention and decreasing the distractions, like I mentioned in the beginning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
100%.
Do you guys have any questions about anything that I touched on?
Bro, I do have some questions.
Yeah.
So disengage guys. So let's say these are all like new team builders and seasoned team builders. So when you were a new team builder, you had that disengage guy, and it's your first or second leader you're trying to get promoted. Do you see a lot of people trying to rebuild them, or do you see a lot of new leaders trying to get rid of them fast to get that second interview without developing them? Like, what do you most of the time see in your team?
Majority of the time, what I see is that they will say, it's them. They fucking suck. They don't listen. They're like X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. They catfished me.
That's because they're not aware about like rebuilding them.
Yes, a lot of times, especially if you're newer, you're not aware of what you don't know, right? And so the way that you know, right, or you become a little bit more aware is by doing, right? And so my suggestion with this individual is I would stick it out with this person. You'll never really lose by sticking it out and learning from this individual that you're trying to develop. Because while you're trying to develop this individual, you are developing, right? And so if I'm newer at the game, then I'm leaning in, keeping that person around, right? Listening to my coach. I'm utilizing Hey Sean as best as I possibly can, or any of you guys, other leaders that are seasoned in the game, to be like, hey, this is what I'm dealing, right? You can have a feedback loop. Okay, this is X, Y, and Z. This is how he's interacting with me. This is what I talked to him about, right? This is what he's doing. This is what he's not doing, right? And that will give you a better gauge of how to approach the situation. But I would stick into it as long as you possibly can for the simple fact that you are developing when you are developing them.
Uh, oh, I got a question. So, what's the best route to like take in terms of like, because if you have like a new guy under you, right? But he's like in that already in the disengaged mindset, like how would I rebuild them as a new leader trying to maintain myself as well as trying to maintain them without like just classifying them as actively engaged and stuff like
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
actively disengaged.
yeah, yeah. Well, first off, I gotta make sure that it's certain that they're actively disengaged, right? Because we don't want to think that they're actively disengaged, but they're actually disengaged, right? And if we go back to like the how to approach those people, it's different, right? And so an actively disengaged individual is literally working against the team's values, right? And so this person is probably maybe saying negative things about the business, saying like, "Oh, this shit is bullshit. I don't want to do that." Like, right? And then that's where I'm directly confronting it, right? In a respectful manner, not in a manner of like, "What? Fuck you," and getting all like,
Yeah.
defensive about it. But I'm going up to that person and saying, "Okay, well, like, is this true, right? Is this the what you're saying right now true?" You're saying that, that you can't get any sales or that they're only sending you to the best stores. Is this true? Can you be absolutely certain that this is true? Right? And then when I'm attacking that head on and I'm doing a good job of explaining their bullshit, right? Then I can kind of get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to need from you moving forward, right? I'm setting a quote unquote timeline, like I mentioned. I'm saying, hey, I need by this date for you to either do this amount or do these things in order for you to maintain your role here. I personally think you can do it, right? I'm a huge believer, and I'm always telling my people that they can do it rather than like, I don't think you can do it. And so, I'm telling them, I think you could personally do it. I think that you're stuck. That's the reason why I hired you in the first place. Do you remember what you said to me in the interview, right? And I'm pulling all those things, right? So that this person can get back engaged. And this doesn't take like a whole hour. I'm not doing this shit during the like I'm in the field and then like I'm going to fucking, Starbucks and sitting them down and then like we're having a fucking, mocha latte or whatever the case may be for an hour and then, drawing all this out. Like, nah, I don't got time for that. I got fucking goals, right? I'm doing this in a smart time period. So it's either going to be having this conversation before the field or after the field, not during the fucking field, right? I'll coach them and stuff like that during the field, of course, but it's not going to be like a sit down, 20 to 30-minute conversation about this shit. And so what I'm saying is essentially Preston shouldn't affect your result at all because
Yeah.
you're not having this conversation during when you need to be executing.
All right.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I got a question, Lynn.
Yep,
So
right.
from a little bit of a different perspective, like you're a rookie owner, okay, and you have like head count 9 people, somebody's actively disengaged. How quickly would you get them out, or would you still give them like the same type of grace period? Like obviously you set the foundation, right? So you don't want anybody basically like spreading viruses in your business. So how quick do you get them out? Like let's say you're in my shoes, I guess. Or do you still give them like the same? Okay, I give you 3 days to make it better, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I did personally. I was a fucking savage when I was a rookie owner. And
Yeah,
so like I was very, very particular about things and I had a very high standard, right? Now I also wasn't as aware. My coaching ability wasn't as good as it is today either, right? And so the only thing I
yeah,
could lean on at the time was like, okay, if you're not fucking figuring this out, I got fucking massive goals and I was tunnel fucking vision, which honestly kind of probably hindered me in some aspects of things. But you seem like you're a lot more sharper than I was anyways, Rodney. Your ability is probably a lot better as well. And so I probably would still like go into the coaching and stuff like that, right? But we're not letting them stick around for too long, right?
right.
Because anything that is working against my business, especially in the earlier stages, right? I'm very, very defensive about that. I'm very, very anal about that. That's something that I'm like, no, 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 right?
Yeah, right, for
That would
sure.
be my advice, right? And then also I think that are you guys you're in a separate office or are you guys together with Hayshawn?
It's separate office. It's like an hour away, so it's super close still, but it's separate offices,
But it's
yeah.
separate office, right? And so
Right,
in different cultures, things are tolerable, right? When you have a culture of 20, 30 people, it's very, very different than a culture of 9 people, right? And
right.
so if anything, I would be getting my actively engaged people and saying, hey, what is the culture that we want to build, right? And we have a high standard, right? And you just build from that. Whereas maybe culture that's kind of established already, right? Some things can pass and go and you can maneuver a little bit different. But remember, you're creating something. What do you want to create? And so you got to be very certain of what that is.
Yeah, for sure. Gotcha. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, I'm focusing on team building right now. It might be a bit of a dumb question, but like, what's the main things you look for? Like, main traits you look for when you're trying to hire someone? Because I'm trying to focus more on like quality over quantity.
So this is what I will say. If you can figure out who is the going to be a stud when you hire them, right? Then I need to have you come to Florida. Let me go ahead and do a brain surgery. Let me see what's going on. Like, because I'm like, holy shit, we found the goddamn unicorn.
Yeah,
And so what I mean by that is that people will surprise you. People will
Uh,
surprise you, right? Um, but that isn't to say there are specific things that are probably like, you probably shouldn't work with that, right? But ideally, at least when I was in your shoes, Rakan, there was 2 things I looked for when I was interviewing someone, and it was confidence and vision. Those are 2 things, right? And so it's just easier to work with people who are already confident, right?